तत्सवितुर्वरं रूपम् ज्योतिः परस्य धीमहि यन्नः सत्येन दीपयेत्। ॐ
So welcome everyone. I hope we got a few moments to ingather ourselves, and maybe now we can start. Yeah, so we have been reading and reflecting upon the release from the ego, synthesis of yoga, page number 363. So this page in front was what we were reflecting upon, and I suggest that maybe we should have a like half of a paragraph. We can take a review and then we go ahead to page 364. So maybe starting from, yeah, like I think here we were reading about this. So let us go through it again. I think it's never harmful to go through things again. We'll take up from the ego persists in itself or in its habitual moments. So if anyone would like, please go ahead.
Yeah, Monica, I'll read.
Okay.
The ego persists in itself or in its habitual movements, but the place of the one becomes more and more loosened. The others are broken, crushed, more and more rejected, becoming weak in their intensity, limp or mechanical in their action. In the end, there is a constant giving up of the whole consciousness into the being of the Supreme. In the beginning, when the restless confusion and obscuring impurity of our outward nature is active, when the mental, vital, physical ego sense are still powerful, this new mental outlook, these experiences may be found difficult in the extreme. But once that triple egoism is discouraged or moribund and the instruments of the spirit are set right and purified in an entirely pure, silent, clarified, widened consciousness, the purity, infinity, stillness of the one reflects itself like the sky in a limpid lake.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So let's do a little meditation, like practically experience this in our body. We'll try to. Some of us may have already practically tried it, experienced it, maybe we are doing it. But again, let us try it. How to free ourselves. And we can always get a glimpse, if not stabilized fully, but we can get a glimpse of being freed from this sense of being limited self. So we'll just bring our attention in the body. We can use breath, bringing the mind fully home in the body, not in the thoughts, not in the feelings, in the body. So you can feel the body, your legs, your hands, arms, so that one is there in the body. Mind is home. Stay rooted with the breath for some time. Thoughts may come, feelings may be around, but we are not engaging in them right now. Now we'll rise in our attention a little. We'll uplift our attention. We'll go to inwardly while our eyes are closed. We'll place our attention on the top of our head. And then we will rise even further. We'll go a few inches above our head, like as if floating mid-air, and we'll just place our attention there, as if you're focusing on something a few inches above your head, and trying to keep that attention stable there, as if you're living, trying to live there. You've got a new apartment. Living a few inches above your head. And looking upwards, as if your gaze is turned upwards. During this time, you will see that it is very hard to engage in thoughts and feelings. You can't, because the moment you do, you can't have the stability in attention uh, in this place that we are trying to. So you have to choose every moment. You have to choose not to engage in the thoughts and trying to stabilize attention a few inches above the head, like as if you are peeking through that opening. Now try, just I'm going to give you a glimpse of how we can again get lodged in the body consciousness. Now come down as if you're coming back to the body. Feel your tummy, feel your heart, feel the body. Now you can again engage in thoughts. Some feelings may be there, some background noise may be there. Now again go up, above the top of our head, a few inches above. Stay there. This is your new silent apartment. You can always come here. Get in touch with this space. As if something is opening to the higher consciousness above. Like a flower opens to sun, like that we're opening towards higher consciousness. Something higher. We don't know what it is, but there is something. We sense it. Yeah. And then actually we can again come back. Usually it happens that when we are concentrated, we are in that space which is relatively silent, which is concentrated, which is not scattered all around. And then again we are lodged as if in the body consciousness, brain consciousness, and again the ripples of all the movements may come back again. So we have to slowly learn actually all the pockets of in between time that we get, those of us who are really wanting to experiment with this. We have to use those pockets of time. You may be sitting on the bathroom pot, it doesn't matter, wherever you are. Use this time to concentrate, stabilize yourself in this consciousness which is above the body consciousness, above the consciousness of the limited mind that we have. And you will see that the moment you engage in thoughts and feelings, it is not possible to parallelly get stabilized above. They don't go together. So then again, it's my choice. Where am I living? So just wanted to touch upon this because what we were reading here is about, I feel that there is a reflection of this rising up above the body and mind consciousness, the limited mind that we live in, logical mind. The ego persists in itself or its habitual movements, but the place of the one becomes more and more loosened. So there may be background thoughts, maybe their background storylines may go on, but nobody is engaging with them anymore. And even if we get engaged at times, we again ingather ourselves. We're not wanting to find resolutions there. So as he was sharing, but once that triple egoism, the egoism of thoughts, feelings, and the body, mind, life, and body, mind, vital, and body, once that triple egoism, that this is me, this is my opinion, this is my viewpoint, this is my feeling, this is my desire, this is my body, once that this triple egoism is discouraged or moribund, means damned, and the instruments of spirit are set right and purified, we all know what it means. In an entirely pure, silent, clarified, widened consciousness, the purity, infinity, and stillness of the one reflects itself like the sky in a limpid lake. So you will see when you are trying to stabilize yourself, your concentration above the head, as if one can get a reflection that as if there is a still lake. You're keeping the lake still. And usually what happens is that any outer happening and the lake is rippled, it suddenly so many ripples come in the lake. But now you are trying more and more that what my task is to keep the lake still. All of us want to know what is the divine will, what should we do from time to time. So the more we stabilize ourselves in this higher consciousness, the more we get in tune with what ought to be done, effortlessly it will get done. Not much effort, because there is a knowing that you get connected with. So imagine that there is this lake that you are keeping still, and suddenly all those influences that will bother you earlier, they will create ripples in that lake. Now you don't give them that much of importance. So with every trigger, it's not moving, that lake is not moving that much. It may still be moving with many triggers, but not with every trigger. They are losing their importance. All these triggers are losing their importance. Because I was the one who was giving them importance. Yeah, so then after this, we can maybe go ahead today. Yeah, anything here? Anyone?
No, thank you, Monica, for that meditation. It's very nice.
Okay, so let's maybe take it forward. There is still a continuation here. Yeah, if anyone would like to read, please go ahead. Yeah, we will finish this paragraph here, starting from a meeting.
Should I, Monica?
Yes, please.
A meeting or a taking in of the reflected consciousness by that which reflects it becomes more and more pressing and possible. The bridging or abolition of the atmospheric gulf between that immutable, ethereal, impersonal, vastness, and this once mobile world or narrow stream of personal existence is no longer an arduous improbability, and maybe even a frequent experience, if not yet an entirely permanent state. For even before complete purification, if the strings of the egoistic heart and mind are already sufficiently frayed and loosened, the jiva can, by a sudden snapping of the main cords, escape. It's like a bird free of the spaces, or widening like a liberated flood into the one and infinite. There is first a sudden sense of a cosmic consciousness, a casting of oneself into the universal. From that universality, one can aspire more easily to the transcendent. There is a pushing back and rending or a rushing down of the walls that imprisoned our conscious being. There is a loss of all sense of individuality and personality, of all placement in space or time or action and law of nature. There is no longer an ego, a person definite and definable, but only consciousness, only existence, only peace or bliss. One becomes immortality, becomes eternity, becomes infinity. All that is left of the personal soul is a hymn of peace and freedom and bliss vibrating somewhere in the eternal. Beautiful.
Thank you. Yes. So again, we have to see that not everybody in their any stage of life may resonate with these words. And I'm hoping that all of us who are here today, maybe time has come that we need to know these words. That's why they are here in this session today. Otherwise, maybe we would not be here. So these words won't make sense to everyone, because again, we have to go through all the stages of life, and each one has its right place. But maybe time has come that now I have to give lesser and lesser importance to all the chatter and restless disturbance of the feelings, and maybe rise in my consciousness. And that is what, if those of us who are ready to rise and they resonate, then maybe this is for us. But it is everybody's destiny, that is to say, if not right now, maybe later, further later in some other lifetime. But this is whether we read Synthesis of Yoga or not. This is everybody's destiny. We will reach a point where we'll become conscious of this yoga that is happening. So, a meeting or a taking in of the reflected consciousness, by that which reflects it. So we are keeping the station of our consciousness, which is usually lodged in our body, in the brain. We are rising it up, we are raising it up, and we are stationing it above the head. And we are keeping it like a silent lake, limpid lake, like he says. And then in that lake, as if there is reflected the consciousness which is above the body consciousness. And here again, Kabir ji resonates again and again here with these words. He says, Hirday mahi arsi aur mukh dekha nahi jaye, mukh to tabhi dekhiye jab dil ki duvida jaye. So he says, the mirror is in your heart, but you can't see yourself because it is clouded. The mirror is clouded with a lot of haze of thoughts and feelings. So right now what we are doing, we are as if clarifying that mirror. And in other words, Mother also says at another place that when you are placing this attention above the head, as if there is a mirror which is turned upwards. That's how you have to place attention. Yeah? Now we have to keep this mirror clarified so that the reflection of the higher consciousness can take place. So he says, a meeting or a taking in of the reflected consciousness by that which reflects it, the stillness, the stability that one is trying to achieve, becomes more and more pressing. You feel that there is nothing more important in your life than to attend to this. So whenever one gets a chance, when one spends some time here, more and more pressing and possible, and you are able to do that. Why? Because now you are so unsure of other chatters and storylines and thoughts and feelings that you want to do this. This is beneficial. More and more pressing and possible. The bridging or abolition of the atmospheric gulf between that immutable, ethereal, impersonal vastness and this once mobile whirl or narrow stream of personal existence is no longer an arduous improbability. So as if there is a, that gulf that was there, oh, divine is somewhere, I don't know where he is, and poor little me, abandoned by the divine. So now he says that now as if that bridging becomes possible, that gulf is, you are able to bridge it with mother's consciousness. So the bridging or abolition of the atmospheric gulf between that immutable, ethereal, impersonal vastness above our heads and this once mobile whirl. Round and round we keep going in our storylines, chatter, round and round. Once mobile whirl or narrow stream of personal existence. Now this bridging is no longer an arduous improbability and maybe even a frequent experience. First you get glimpses of it, then you give importance to it, this is important for me, and you make it more and more and more stable for your life. So even a frequent experience, if not yet an entirely permanent state. Yeah, so it's not my permanent state, I still get lost, but it is more and more frequent that I visit. And I feel that connect. We all feel that connect if we experiment with it. It's just that how much important that connect is for me right now. Or there are also, I may say that this is important for me, but I spend all the time here and there. So that tells me what is important for me. Not my words, but my actions. If not yet an entirely permanent state. So we have to make these little steps, baby steps. As if one is learning an art, almost like exercising a muscle. For even before complete purification. So we don't have to wait कि कब मैं pure हो जाऊंगी तो मेरा मिलन होगा divine के साथ. So he says, for even before complete purification, if the strings of the egoistic heart and mind are already sufficiently frayed and loosened. अब आप उनको importance ही नहीं दे रहे. You're not fueling your thought patterns. You're not fueling your disturbing emotions and feelings. So they're like, oh my God, nobody gives me attention, so they're losing their energy. Like ghosts, how they lose energy when we ignore them. So they are not in their monstrous form because we know there is nothing, they're empty bubbles. They have been fooling us because I was ready to get fooled by them. Now I am not ready. So they are losing their energy. They're just empty bubbles, nothing else. So this string of egoistic heart and mind which ties our consciousness to the body, as if you're flying a kite and it's anchored to a point and the kite wants to soar above, but it's not able to soar. Why? Because it's tied to the ground. So the strings of egoistic heart and mind, as if they're tying our consciousness which wants to rise above, and now you are allowing it to rise above. So if they are sufficiently frayed and loosened, the jiva can, by a sudden snapping, see what an image he creates, a sudden snapping, like, imagine that there is a kite, it's tied to a point in a ground, and now the kite wants to fly high. So there is a push from the kite, like from the winds, there is a push above. So you will see that there is a tension that develops in the string. So it may be tied, yes, but the kite doesn't want to be here. The kite wants to be there. So there is a tension that develops, and because of that tension, the thread weakens and then it snaps. So he says that it snaps here. If they're already sufficiently frayed and loosened, the jiva can, by a sudden snapping of the main chords escape, ascending like a bird freed into the spaces, or widening like a liberated flood into the one and infinite. So this is what is waiting for all of us. While again, as we were doing that experiment, that we can actually for a long time be like a pendulum. We may have glimpses of that consciousness above, that yes, I am beyond the body, I'm more than the body. I'm not the consciousness just which is lodged in the body and brain, but something beyond which I've not been able to see so far. So you become aware of it, but again and again something pulls you down. So you are again lodged in the brain and the body consciousness. These emotions, these thoughts, they become more important. And for a long time, it's like a pendulum like movement which keeps on happening, which is completely fine. At least that pendulum like movements has started. It's not just that I'm lodged in the brain and the body consciousness. No, and then what happens is, I think maybe we'll come to it later, that the more we rise above, as Sri Aurobindo says in the book, The Mother, ascent. With the ascent comes the descent. So we are not leaving this body consciousness filthy, dirty. No, that's not the purpose here. We are rising so that we can bring that light which purifies this instrument. This is because हमारे हाथ का नहीं है, we can't manage the purification of this instrument. But what we can do is, with walking with the mother, is we can ascend, we can rise, aspiration that we were talking of the other day. So that's the personal effort required from our end. Yeah, anything here? Anyone? Okay, so we can maybe go further, the next half of it. There is first a sudden sense of a cosmic consciousness, a casting of oneself into the universal. From that universality, one can aspire more easily to the transcendent. So again, it's a step, not the ultimate, but steps in reclaiming our true self. So first I see myself and believe myself to be this little individuality. Then slowly we get disenchanted from that. One rises above. And as he says, that the more we stabilize ourselves above, the consciousness above our minds, limited brains, the more we are getting connected, and slowly it becomes possible to have a cosmic realization, and realization of a cosmic consciousness, that we are one, that feeling of not just the feeling, but a practical realization of that oneness. And then he says that from here, then it's more easy to go further. So he's not stopping just there. He says, there is first a sudden sense of a cosmic consciousness, a casting of oneself into the universal. And from that universality, one can aspire more easily to the transcendent. There is a pushing back and rending, or a rushing down of the walls that imprisoned our conscious being. This comes in Ashupati's yoga in Savitri, where the lines that come are that his heights repelled the lowly earthly state. He's raising himself, he's rising in consciousness, and from there is a letting go of all that pulls us down. Now you can't manage that suffocation which comes by entangling ourselves in all the affairs which we consider so important, in the names of all roles, responsibilities, being a mother, daughter, daughter-in-law. You will see in ashram we have so many examples With mother, we have so many examples of disciples. Nothing mattered but service to the divine. Nothing mattered. We have so many examples. Mothers, people writing letters to the mother that, okay, my family, somebody is ill. Can I go and visit? The mother says, what good will you do by visiting? You can do good right here, wherever you are. Create a positive formation and make it so strong that that affects that person. And that for that, you don't need to go. For that, he has already the persons there. But again, not saying that it's just a formula. Mother would say different things to different people. But knowing that nothing is more important than this growth of consciousness. No role, no responsibility. Nothing must tie us in the name of a responsibility that, okay, because I am this and this, so and so, that's why I can't, follow what is the calling of your heart. So there is no excuse that would work here. अनन्या अभी नहीं देख सकती. Yeah, anything here? There is a pushing back and bending of, or a rushing down of the walls that imprisoned our conscious being. Yes.
Just the exact line that you were reading, it reminded me of a book that I think many of us have read it, Dying to Be Me by Anita Murjani, and it's so I think Taru would resonate with it as well. That the line that stated that you read are exactly the living experiences of people who experience near-death experience. Exactly, that's what they say, merging with the cosmic consciousness and feeling that oneness and peace. And you were reading, so I mean, if only we don't experience it after the opportunity was lost. I was just thinking like that why can't we die? Really, why can't we die before death in that sense? So that thing resonated, that these are not really the lines just written only Shri Aurobindo could do. We all experience it after our death. People who have come back from that experience can state it, can testify it. So we can, like, if even before when we were reading Shri Aurobindo was saying that this is possible. It is not something which is not possible, because right now it does feel, oh my God, it's so hard to even resist one straw ripple of thought, one ripple of emotion. They can be so powering. How can we achieve, like, how can we do this thing, like, but that thing reminded me this book, very similar. If you read that book, exactly she says this only. How she felt that, and it kind of made her realize that you have to really die before death to really be alive truly. So
There is a loss of all sense of individuality and personality. Now, it doesn't mean, of course, and he says at other places, as a person you remain, personality remains, individuality remains, but you are not stuck in that individuality. It's just like, it doesn't matter who am I. How does it matter? Like mothers in prayers and meditation is saying, how does it matter whether the divine work gets done through me, through somebody else? The name doesn't matter. So the individuality is there, the instrumentation is there, you're working still on purification, all the work is going on, but it doesn't matter that much. It is not your focal point of existence. So there is a loss of all sense of individuality and personality. So it's very easy to take all the praise or all the criticism, because now you know that mamla kuch aur hi hai, something else is going on. So how does it matter whether somebody praises or somebody rejects? Similar. Now here we come to the samatha of soul consciousness. Equanimity, which Sri Aurobindo says can be, its true equanimity can only be gained when one is living in the soul consciousness. So there is a loss of all sense of individuality and personality, of all placement in space or time or action and law of nature. There is no longer an ego, a person definite and definable, but only consciousness, only existence, only peace or bliss. One becomes immortality. So the more we identify with this consciousness which is beyond the body and of course animating the body, there is a sense, practical sense that yes, I am not going to die. One becomes immortality, becomes eternity, becomes infinity. All that is left of the personal soul is a hymn of peace and freedom and bliss vibrating somewhere in the eternal. How beautiful. So as if one has liberated from the sense of being caged all the time that we feel from time to time. And again, as some of us may feel, and as Nandini was also sharing, that it may feel like a far-fetched goal. And as Sri Aurobindo says, that impossibility is the beginning of possibility. The very fact that we are in front of these words today, nothing is happening by chance. So it's our birthright. Sooner or later, we may not be at it. Some of us may be at it right now. For we may resonate so much that no, nothing else is important than this. And one is able to shrug very easily all that comes from the outer. Like jhad diya, usko bhi jhad diya. Then this comes, okay, jhad diya. This comes, keeping on dusting all the time, because one knows what is most important and to be addressed. So no entanglement. Any entanglement, if it comes, like it comes on you, throws itself on you and feels very important, one is then able to shrug it off, because one knows that no, it may be showing itself important, but nothing doing. So that's how we loosen that egoistic cord of heart and mind. The less I give importance to them, the more frail that thread becomes. It cannot tie the consciousness anymore. And it's ready to shoot wherever it has to go.
I just wanted to share a personal experience on what you said about the word possible is in the impossible, or impossibility opens the door of possibility. Something that I really experienced was when my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I remember everybody told me you have to be prepared for the worst. And even my father used to say that, it doesn't get cured. You just manage the disease. And like, I never entertained such thoughts, because I thought, I am like, I'm linking myself. We both, my mother and myself, we are, under mother's protection, divine soul, because she used to really worship Lord Shiva. So she used to always say that, like, I'm linked with Mahakal. So like somebody who's linked with him cannot happen. And I remember during our meditations, we used to always visualize like a golden gate. And, I used to say that, we're not fighting cancer just for the body to live, but we're fighting it because, the aspiration was to do the divine work, in whatever form it may come, and not to accept illness. That was our aspiration. And I remember we used to, do different kind of meditation. We used to sing that, we are opening the door, big door, which is impossible, cannot be opened, and mother's light is out there. And it's coming in, and it's not only she and me, but so many like us who are at the back who are suffering, and it's coming to all of us. And I remember when she left and she passed away, it was very peaceful and everything was in itself very mystic. But there was something in me which was upset with the mother. I felt betrayed. I said the impossible did not happen. Everybody was right. This became an impossible. Our aspiration was not. I was, really angry with her. A part of me was really angry. And I used to tell her that, it's right. Impossible cannot be possible. I used to say to her. But I remember how her grace is infinite. We were doing the tervi, like just havan. And when it ended, the pujari said, if she had a favorite bhajan, you all can sing. So there is in her favorite, is to say, "Am Malik Tere Bande Hum." There is a bhajan. And I remember there was a line that came, we all sang. It says, "Aise ho karam, neki par chale, haste hue nikle dam." That, may I live a life that when I go with the smile on the face. That is my aspiration of life. And when that line came, something in me completely shifted. And as if mother was telling me that you were asking for something, what we both got was more than just sustaining of the body. She died with a smile on the heart, which is so impossible. If you are attached, you cannot die. Like, about that, if you cannot feel the oneness at the time of death, you cannot smile. Like, to die with a smile on the heart is the aspiration, that the song was there, the bhajan was there, her favorite bhajan. And it just shifted in that sense completely. And I was like, my goodness, we ask for this and she gives this much, but we can't see it. So when you said this, and since we are reading this, that really, like, impossibility is nothing when we are, when we aspire towards her. Like, now I've started to feel that there is really nothing in this world which can be impossible. And that was such a big thing that she taught me. So just I thought of sharing it in that sense.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, anyone else wants to add on or share anything here? Okay, shall we go ahead then? We can go ahead. Yeah, we can take this next paragraph up. Yeah, so if anyone would like to read, please read. Maybe, yeah, just stop somewhere in the middle. I don't know where. Yeah. Anyone?
Yeah, I'll read it. Namaskar. When there is an insufficient purity in the mental being, just 1 second, I'm not able to see something. Yeah, okay, sure. When there is an insufficient purity in the mental being, or I'm so sorry, I'm not able to read.
No, you can't see it?
I'll read, I can see it. I'll
Okay.
do it.
Okay.
When there is an insufficient purity in the mental being, the release appears at first to be partial and temporary. The jiva seems to descend again into the egoistic life and the higher consciousness to be withdrawn from him. In reality, what happens is that a cloud or veil intervenes between the lower nature and the higher consciousness, and the Prakriti resumes For a time, its old habit of working under the pressure, that not always with the knowledge or present memory of that high experience. What works in it then is a ghost of the old ego supporting a mechanical repetition of the old habits upon the remnants of confusion and impurity still left in the system. The cloud intervenes and disappears. The rhythm of ascent and descent renews itself until the impurity has been worked out. This period of alternations may easily be long in the integral yoga, for there an entire perfection of the system is required. It must be capable at all times and in all conditions and all circumstances, whether of action or inaction, of admitting and then living in the consciousness of the supreme truth.
Anything here?
Yeah, the one thing that came to me while reading is that usually we take this as a failure, right? So something came, but it left. Oh, I experienced that, but now I've lost it. So we actually use that as something to go down further into, despair or frustration or, what will happen to me? I'm good for nothing kind of a thing. And yet, again and again, we are shown through different words and text that is the way. That is the way. It's, especially in childhood when I would read about, Vedanta, it always felt that there is a crossing over, that as if there is a line and we are running towards it and we'll cross over and boom, we have experienced something and now we are of a different, I don't know, material and stuff. And yet that's never been the experience. It's always been back and forth, back and forth. And it's not back, although it appears to be back, it's not back. It's again, that Rumi's quote that if you cry out at every rub, how will you be polished, my dear? Something like this, that cleansing is happening, that cleaning is happening, that purification. Yeah.
I think this we were maybe in Friday study circle, we were talking about something which is like a mother was saying that find out that something which attracts the adverse. Something in the being as if like a magnet hiding somewhere, which is calling for that lower consciousness and adverse effect. So here he says, and that is what we all need to work upon, to be sincere there. When there is insufficient purity in the mental being, we can be sure that we are there. The release appears at first to be partial and temporary. At times we may get beautiful connection with the consciousness above, and at times we are pulled in different directions. So it's partial release, it's temporary release, we are again suffocated and caged, and yet it is something, as you were sharing. The jiva seems to descend again into the egoistic life. So we identify again with those older movements of thoughts, feelings, all the storylines, all the demands that we craved for once. They, as if they are alive, they are not going anywhere, they're just hanging around. The moment I give them attention, they are alive. But again, as we were sharing, that the less attention we give, they kind of lose energy. Fuel is not there to sustain them. So the jiva seems to descend again into the egoistic life, becomes identified with the egoistic life, and the higher consciousness to be withdrawn from him. So again, we will see that those of us who experiment with placing the consciousness above the head, very practically you feel something descending. You feel a force descending. Now, when I am identified with thoughts and feelings, my storylines, you can't feel that force descending. As if something has been snapped, like you lost that connection for a while. So he says, the jiva seems to descend again into the egoistic life in the higher consciousness to be withdrawn from him. In reality, what happens is that a cloud or a veil intervenes between the lower nature and the higher consciousness. Something becomes just too important. Whatever one person may have said, some past memory will come. It appears like so important that it forms like a dark cloud between, we are trying to bridge that gulf and now there is a dark cloud in between. Something of this worldly affairs becomes so important. It forms like a big thick cloud which prevents that connect which one was able to have. Cloud of Maya, one can say. It intervenes. But again, everything has a purpose. So that tells me that something in me still gives it attention. So when there is insufficient purity, this is temporary, and then in reality what happens is that a cloud or a veil intervenes between the lower nature and the higher consciousness, and the Prakriti resumes for a time its old habit of working under the pressure, but not always with the knowledge or present memory of that high experience. So always, the divine will we often talk of, it's always in action behind the veil. That pressure from above is always in action, but from behind the veil. I may not be aware of it. So he says again that happens. That first I am aware of it, I have a conscious glimpses of that connection, and then suddenly there is a movement of all the older patterns. They come swarming the being. Something becomes too important, and that connect I lose for some time. So there is that consciousness of that connect is not there, but the connect is there. We are always in touch with our true self, but consciously I am not. The thing that we felt when I am connecting myself with the higher. So unconsciously we are all divine, but consciously we lose the touch. So what works in it then is a ghost of the old ego. Ghost. Again, we have to see this word. What works in it then is a ghost of the old ego, supporting a mechanical repetition of old habits upon the remnants of confusion and impurity still left in the system. So if there is a dirt somewhere in the house or somewhere where we live, whatever is there, it will attract those kind of animals there. So rats will come, cockroaches will come. Something is there because of that impurity that is left. It's like that attraction for the ghost to arrive. Here I am, never gone anywhere, always around, lurking around for an opportunity. So that serves as a feed for the old ghost of the ego to jump back again to action. What works in it then is a ghost of the old ego, supporting a mechanical repetition of the old habits upon the remnants of confusion. Confusion pura bhi nahi hai. It's not that you are completely buying into it, but some part may be buying into it. Some doubt, some confusion may be there. Even that little bit is enough. For ants, even a little bit of sugar somewhere is enough to attract them. Like that. So remnants of confusion and impurity still left in the system. On that, the ghost survives. The cloud intervenes and disappears. The rhythm of ascent and descent renews itself. All of us have seen these phases. Sometimes, like we say, Rahu Kal chal raha hai, some astrological perspective may come. When the mind is too cloudy, too many attached spots are there which we are wanting resolution with. And it's like just too cloudy, too cloudy. And then it comes, it goes, it does its work, and then we are again, the rhythm of ascent and the descent renews itself until the impurity has been worked out. So the cloud will keep on coming as long as that impurity is there. How beautiful. We can be thankful for that cloud coming, because it tells me that impurity is there. And if the cloud stops coming, again I can be again thankful. Thank you for giving me that experience. So the cloud intervenes and disappears. The rhythm of ascent and descent renews itself until the impurity has been worked out. Keep on happening. This period of alternations easily may be long in the integral yoga, for there an entire perfection of the system is required. So in integral yoga specifically, because it is about transformation of our lower nature, these pendulum-like movements one will have to go through more, like more often, because it's not an escape into some higher consciousness. It's going into higher consciousness and coming back again into the lower consciousness. So that repeated movement. We are not leaving the family, the instrument which the divine has given. Yeah, so until here. Yes, Chetna? Yeah.
Yes, Didi, I wanted to ask, can you explain or give an example of this line? The cloud intervenes and disappears. The rhythm of ascent and descent renews itself. How would the rhythm of ascent and descent, like if there is an example to recognize that in life?
Yeah. See, what can be a cloud? A cloud would be something in the outer world appears to me that, okay, if I get this, then I will be fulfilled. It holds a promise for me. It promises me fulfillment and I run after it. For all of us, the clouds may be different shaped, but they are clouds. So any promise of fulfillment from the outer life, outer person, outer relationship is a cloud. Yes, want of importance, sense of importance, want of respect, name, fame, wanting love in a relationship. It's a cloud. Expecting, demanding resolution from people around us. So what happens is that initially I'm like after it, like, oh, chahiye, yahin se chahiye, I want it from here, I want it from here. Then you slow down, petrol khatam hone lagta hai. Chahiye, I want it from here. And slowly that also goes away. So as long as this chahiye is there, I want it from here, I want it from here, no matter with how much reduced in intensity, we are bound to have these clouds. Then slowly something in the being gets convinced. It says, I know I will not get it from there because I know the source of it. We all know the source of it. We have glimpses. So we again put ourselves in that ascent to that higher self that we have the glimpse of. When I am demanding from the outer person, then what am I saying? I am ignoring the higher. I am not ascending then. So the rhythm of ascent and descent is blocked for a while. It is on pause for a while. What I am saying, I am on a horizontal level. I am asking for fulfillment from a person or a workplace, which itself is a beggar. But what am I wanting? I am wanting fulfillment. A beggar is asking a beggar, give me fulfillment. Never happening, sorry, right? So again and again, blows, rejections, disappointments happen. These are our clouds that we again begin to want something. These are our clouds. And then times come, then we become convinced that nahi, I'm just wasting my time. And in this time that I'm wasting outside, why don't I connect? Why don't I ascend? So you ascend, you stabilize your consciousness wherever, deeper in the heart first, and then rising above the bodily consciousness. That is ascend, raising your consciousness, and then descend. So that's what we were reading, what you were asking. Ascend. So the cloud intervenes, disappears. The rhythm of ascent and descent renews itself. You get rejuvenated that no, not the right place to look for fulfillment. I know the right place. Okay, you put yourself there. And then renews itself until the impurity has been worked out. So that you achieve a kind of a sense of ease in the being, relative ease. And just
Yes. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, another visual that was coming to me when I read it was that, say, if I'm just sitting and I'm being present to my breath, right? Like right now, if I close my eyes, I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. So when I'm breathing in, it feels like an ascent. When I'm breathing out, it feels like a descent. And then a cloud of a thought or a reason or a chore or a responsibility comes. And I disconnect with the ascent and a descent. Like it could be anything that I'm conscious to, which is taking its, that which is taking me somewhere. But then I get distracted. And then for me, that ascent and descent stops and I get lost. And then I come back to it when I'm done with that. And slowly, 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 I get distracted less and less when you said, ki ab nahi chahiye, nahi chahiye. Then I can continue with that, which is purifying. Like just, I mean, not a very good example, but yeah, that's.
Thank you. Thank you, Didi. It reminded me just couple of days back, 2-3 days back, after one of your sessions, this thought, this thought experience came to me as well. Like I was breathing, and with every breath, it seemed like, yeah, the ascent and the descent. Yes, this was exactly just after one of the sessions, and then I had forgotten. So thank you for reminding me.
I was thinking that my experience when I had some opening, some experience of this kind, it seems to me like it will never change. Like this is it. This is never going to go away. The feeling is like something that won't go away anymore, and it's not the case. I had to learn and yeah, like understand that these are fleeting experiences, and we have to keep on working.
Yeah. And they go away. Absolutely. They may just give me a glimpse when I'm most sincere, that's most important for me. And then other things may take over, or I may lose the effort, self-motivation and effort. And yes, absolutely. So for a long, long time, it's because of effort that we have to sustain those experiences. The stabilizing ourselves in the higher consciousness, and it requires a lot of effort. Yes. Otherwise, glimpses and then gone. The disconnect happens.
When we read about this or when we experience this, when I feel that resistance and, the going back, and right now, like, how it was saying, it said that Prakriti kind of intervenes and then the old habitual patterns. So it feels like, how cruel is she that she would not let me, kind of a thing. And yet, when we see this, it feels like, how that paripakvata is happening. Now, without that, I am not solidifying that experience. Like I remember a long time back, I had seen a documentary of Buddha, and it said that before he finally achieved, that state of bliss, there were so many things offered to him at his feet. That take this siddhi, say take that riddhi, take so much was offered that, oh my God, it was so attractive. Okay, really a power of this, a power of that. But because this whole churning had happened so many times, that ascend, descend, this offering, that nothing attracted, and then he could reach that no, 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 no. Otherwise, me being me, if I am given that constant state right now, and if something comes, I might just jump at it, right? Because I haven't gone down enough, I haven't begged enough, I haven't borrowed enough. And there's something still in me which is okay being a beggar. So it actually feels like it's working in my favor. It's purifying me by again and again intervening that you still want here, take it, take it, take it. And then there is nothing, right? So it feels like how kind and how it's working for myself rather than standing against me, which is often perceived as stopping me.
Yes, the same archetypal story it's also in the Bible. Like Jesus goes to the desert and the devil, the figure of the devil, tempts him with everything that one could want before he arrives to his realization. Let's say.
Yeah. So these temptations are tests of our purity. Good that these tests are there, as you are sharing. Yes. Hmm. So I think we can. I suggest that we can stop here today, and we can take it up again this bit. So this page 364. Start from here again. Yeah. Any last comments? Anyone? Okay. So maybe closing, taking a moment in silence to share, dedicate all the merit, collective reading, understanding, delight, clarity, sharing with all the merit with all the sentient beings, near to far. May our hearts be full, content, minds simple. May we have lots of joy and progress in our life. Thank you.